Let's talk about data. Think about a single file sitting on someone's computer. How does that file get from their desktop through your application and land safely as trusted, secure information? Well, today, we're going to follow that piece of data on its incredible journey, step by careful step, all inside of Oracle Apex.
You've probably thought about this, right? It's a huge question for any developer. How do you take something as unpredictable as a user's spreadsheet and make sure it plays by your rules without, blowing up your system? That's the challenge we're going to tackle, and the solution is all about having a really well-defined process.
So, here's our roadmap for this whole journey. We're going to see how our data goes through 6 distinct stages. It starts at the upload, then it goes through parsing, mapping, and this super important validation gate. Finally, it gets to the loading phase, and we'll even look at what happens post-load. Let's kick things off.
Every big adventure has to start somewhere. And for our data, that's stage 1, the starting line. It all begins with something we've all done a million times. A user just clicks a button to upload a file. Simple as that.
Now, in the Apex world, that starting point has a name. It's the File Browse page item. You can think of this as the official port of entry for our data. It's the gateway that lets a user pick a file from their computer and send it on its way into our app.
But here's the thing. Even at this very first step, we're not just sitting back and hoping for the best. Nope, we're setting the rules of the road. We get to decide where that file is temporarily stored, and maybe more importantly, we can restrict which file types are even allowed in the first place. By saying, hey, only CSVs are welcome here, we're stopping a whole bunch of potential problems before they even get started.
All right, our file made it inside the system, so welcome to stage 2, learning the language. Because right now, that file is just a blob of raw text or cells. To our application, it's basically a foreign language. The next big job is to translate it into something we can actually work with.
And for that big translation job, Apex gives us the perfect tool, the Apex Data Parser package. Seriously, this thing is like a universal translator. It can take a messy CSV or a complicated Excel file and, like magic, structure it into the clean rows and columns that a database loves.
And here's a pro tip. Don't ever skip the preview. Before we go any further, Apex gives us a little sanity check. Did the translation actually work? Are the columns where we thought they would be? This first look is our chance to spot any issues early, and trust me, it can save you a massive headache down the line.
Okay, so our data has been translated and we can understand it. Now it's time for stage 3, defining the rules. Think of this part like giving our data a GPS destination. Before it can move into its final home, we have to draw a really clear map from where it is now to where it needs to go.
And this is exactly what that map looks like. We're literally telling the system, hey, see this transaction date column from the file? I want you to put that into the T-Rex date column in my database. And notice this, we can even apply transformations right here, like converting plain text into a proper date. This is where we make absolutely sure the data's format is going to match its final destination.
So the data has its instructions. But here's the million-dollar question. Is it good data? That brings us to what is probably the most important part of this whole journey. Stage 4, the quality gate.
At this point, every single row of data comes to a fork in the road. If it passes all of our business rules, it gets a green light and continues on. But if it fails, for any reason at all, it gets immediately sent over to an error table. This is the absolute core of data integrity. Nothing sketchy gets past this gate, period.
So what kind of checks are we talking about here? Well, really anything your business needs. We can check that a critical field isn't empty. We can check a product code against our main list to make sure it's even a real product. Or we can do something as basic as making sure a number column actually has a number in it. This is our chance to enforce our rules on all that incoming data.
The data that made it through that tough quality gate is now clean, it's validated, and it's ready for the big time. So now we're at stage 5, reaching the destination.
And now for the final move into the database. You know that classic developer headache? Should I insert this data or update it? Well, the merge statement is the beautiful solution. It does what's called an upsert. If the record is brand new, it gets inserted. If it's already there, it just gets updated. This one command is so efficient, and it keeps you from getting duplicates. It's a lifesaver.
But what about all those rows that failed validation? We have a strict no data left behind policy here. The best practice is to log every single rejected row along with the reason it failed into a completely separate table. This gives you a perfect audit trail, so absolutely nothing gets lost in the shuffle.
Okay, the good data has arrived safely. This brings us to our final stage. But the journey isn't really over until the user says it is. So, welcome to stage 6, life after the load.
A really great workflow always closes the loop for the user. It doesn't just dump the data and walk away. It lets the user review what was just loaded. It gives them a simple way to see all the rejected rows, fix the mistakes right there on the screen, and then try to process them again with a single click. It's all about creating a seamless experience from beginning to end.
And that right there is really the key idea. A complete workflow doesn't just hope for the best, it actually plans for failure. It gives the user the power to manage their data's entire life cycle, making sure every single piece of information eventually finds its correct and trusted home in the system.
And underneath this whole process is one principle that is just non-negotiable: auditing. For governance, for troubleshooting, for just basic accountability, you have to always be able to answer the who, what, and when for every piece of data that comes into your application. And look, this doesn't have to be complicated at all. Just by capturing who uploaded the file, the exact time they did it, and the name of the original file, you've created an incredibly powerful audit trail. This information is just invaluable when you need to track down a problem or even just report on what's been going on.
So there you have it. Our data's journey is complete. It's been uploaded, translated, mapped, validated, and loaded. But the final question really is for you. As you build your own applications, how are you going to use these stages to make sure that every piece of data not only reaches its destination, but that its entire story is always traceable and its integrity is always protected?